Well, good morning. Morning, folks. I'm glad you're here. We're expecting a couple more maybe, so we'll see. But let's begin with the word of prayer, shall we? God, we thank you for this day, for bringing us here this morning, for giving us not only this beautiful day, but this beautiful opportunity to read and study your word together. We ask your blessing on those who may yet be on their way. We ask your blessing on this morning's session, on our conversation. Help us to learn what it is that you have for us to learn today. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, we are in the middle of chapter 8 of Mark, and we're kind of at a hinge point. We're shifting gears a little bit. I don't know if you noticed as you read through the text and the lesson today, but yeah, things are kind of accelerating a little bit. We've been out of breath already. It's fixing to get faster. So first of all, tell me what you're just anxious to share of what you read and what you discovered in this session. You've got something to share, David. No? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. While David's looking, anybody else? Okay. 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 About what? Oh, okay. Okay, there's a list. All right. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you find it, David?
Yes.
Okay.
I never considered it. One is right, and the other thing is that it will be wrong.
Oh, right. They wanted to, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Relating that request to what Jesus knows is going to happen. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Right. Good morning. That's all right. That's all right. We just got started. We're glad you're here. Anybody else have something that you want to share right off? Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Are you looking for the place where David was talking about? You can't find it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. It's. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's it. That's what David was talking about. You found it. Yeah. All right.
They were loud. I didn't wear them.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, well, let's not worry about audio differences in the morning service. Let's look at the first section, 8:22 to 30, um, where we find this turning point. What's going on in there? There's healing of a man who can't see. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have a different idea.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So there's two things in this section. There's a healing, but then there's this. Did you notice on your map how far it is from Bethsaida to Caesarea Philippi? I think you mentioned that that was kind of a long way, and you can see on the map it is kind of a long way. Bethsaida is still close to the lake, and Caesarea Philippi is way up north, and on the way up a different mountain. on the way, part way up Mount Hermon. So it is kind of a long way. He's beginning to be more successful, it seems, at separating them from the crowd. He used to not be able to get away. In this section, Mark seems to notice that they're a bit more successful at getting away. Not sure how that happens, but that's just one of the things that I noticed. Could be. Most people don't want to go there. Huh. Open Peter's eyes. Oh, the blind man. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Jesus told him not to go into the village. He sent him back home. And apparently, for once, the fellow did. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. So there's a question in here. Why did they go so far away for this little interlude? Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Um, uh-huh. Right. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Jesus took the blind man away from the village. He takes the disciples away from the lake and the crowds. It's like a turning point kind of a thing. It's vital that word doesn't leak out. If his kingdom mission is becoming more explicitly a Messiah mission, it's really getting dangerous. Yeah. He's gotta get going. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Somebody talked about the next section. Talk among yourselves. I'm going to have to go in the other room a second. Can you take this?
I have a question about the transfiguration. How did they know it was Moses? You don't have any pictures of them. You know, it's two old guys standing there. Maybe they're not old. See Jesus said, "May I introduce Moses?" Hey, bro. You don't think too deeply about these things. Divine inspiration. Or maybe they had a name. Hi, my name is. Yeah. Maybe Jesus said, "Hey, Moses, good to see you again." He was left behind. Well, he was not allowed to come into the promised land because he talked back and all kind of things. So yeah, he was allowed to look over into the promised land, but he wasn't allowed to go. So they said, "See ya," and left him standing on the rock and waiting. There's people that think they know where he's buried. There's, but people think they know where the Ark of the Covenant is too. It's supposed to be in Ethiopia. They claim to have it. They just won't show it to anybody. They take it out once a year. It's all wrapped up, so you can't see it. Paraded around, put it back in the box. They won't show it to anybody. So, yeah, same thing. There's people that think they know where Moses was buried, but he did die. He wasn't. There was one of the guys in Genesis who ceased to be or something like that. I can't think of which one it was. That's the other. That's the two. Yeah, one of those guys that lived like 800 years. Enoch. Yeah, maybe it's Enoch. That he was taken up or something like that, but he didn't die. But everybody else, he lived this long, had a kid, and lived this long, and the next one lived this long and had a kid, and it's like 900 years and 800 years, and along comes the flood, and along comes the flood, and within 2 generations, they're down to the standard 70. I think the gene pool got, really, it's interesting because, however many there were, of course, in Genesis, they talk about having other people, when Cain is marked. They said, there's supposed to be like 4 people around in the whole world, except, but these other people, they're not allowed to kill you. So, they mentioned that there's other people besides the people. It's all, that's the problem with poetry. I would prefer if they had just put a scientific thing in there, an abstract and, all that kind of stuff. It seemed to do it that way. Poor Sarah, 90.
That's my question. It really sounds awful old, doesn't it?
Anything too hard for God. That's the other part, half of it, though. Really? What are you doing here? I didn't kill you. It's interesting. The concept God was walking in the garden, kind of thing, and Adam and Eve hid, and stuff like that. It's this concept of a local God, rather than just God knows everything and already knows what's happening, but plays along, with Adam and Eve. thing. Oh, why are you, why are you hiding from me and all that? Very well, why? That darn snake. Okay. You can go back and listen to the audio. I didn't mean to. I didn't realize that was going to be recorded.
Ron's good. He can get it out.
You may have to get him a heads up on that. Okay.
Okay, so what did you guys talk about? What? Oh, okay, okay. Oh, well, that's not till the next section. Okay, so what's, there's a significant thing going on in this, second section. 8:31 to 9 verse 1. And what is it? It's the first time he set out what was going to happen, right? It's a prediction of his death. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. It's new. I mean, he's talking about dangerous things. And the fact that he doesn't, he knows that he has to do it. There's that sense of not only urgency, but necessity in what he's saying there, right? But what do you make about this last verse? For some reason, this section tacks that last verse on there. What does it say? Uh-huh. What does that mean? What did you get out of that? Yeah. How have you ever heard that discussed before? I mean, when some people read that, maybe this guy has a better translation of it than we usually see. Some people standing here won't experience death. Read that verse in one of the other translations. Read it out of chapter 9, verse 1. What does your translation say? Mm-hmm. What does your translation say? Anybody? About the same? Mm-hmm. 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 Um, uh-huh. I
I have a note that says, go to Matthew. Instead of saying
Uh-huh. When you read it stated that way, it sounds kind of like the second coming, doesn't it? And I think that's where it gets confusing sometimes. If Jesus is trying to say, you know, some of you who are alive today are going to still be around at what we call the second coming. That's kind of, that would be awfully quick. Yes. Well, that's why we need to pause and talk about it a little bit, because according to Mr. Wright, that's what he's really talking about. The power comes from the fact of Jesus' resurrection and his victory over death and so on, all the things that are coming that he knows are coming, but we don't. At least the disciples don't. Mhm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's worth pausing here for a minute to think about that verse, because that's what's coming sooner than many people who read that sentence imagine.
They did too. Once we saw that, what means those problems become clear as we proceed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing that Jesus was thinking, Jesus, look right one sentence above. Jesus seems to think that evil will be defeated and the kingdom will come precisely through his own suffering and death. So that's more like what he actually means, rather than the conclusion that lots of people jump to when they read that sentence. So anyway, good.
The Bible that has an evil period in the first verse. It's an unusual way of starting a chapter. So it's almost like they wanted it to be part of it. Yeah. And then they start
Oh, right. Uh-huh. I'm looking at NIV right now, and 9 verse 1 is a part of that same paragraph. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what you're saying.
I don't remember any other one really like that. But there may be,
I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are. Uh-huh. Well, it's good for you to notice that. Thank you for bringing that up. Well, let's talk about the transfiguration. What did you guys discuss while I was out of the room? Tell me.
the question was, how did we know that was really,
Okay.
because they didn't have pictures in those days. They didn't have, how did they know?
Well, what did you decide? Mm-hmm. 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 I think Moses and Elijah were sort of key placeholders. In the Old Testament, there's like the law and the prophets and then the other writings, right? Well, Moses represents the law and Elijah represents the prophets. So it's logical that if they're going to see a couple of people from the past, those are good representatives of who they might see. So they would kind of expect some kind of presence like that, perhaps, as being representative of what went before. I don't know. That's a good question. How did they know? Maybe not right now. So this section also has in it another prediction of his death. This one may be the one that's a subtle one. Let's see. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, it's in verse 12. Yeah. What do you think it means that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be treated with contempt? That's how he translates part of verse 12. And then he makes a reference to John the Baptist. You know, Elijah was supposed to be the first one to come. Remember, Mark has already mentioned that way earlier, relating John the Baptist's ministry to Elijah, who was always supposed to come before the Messiah. So anyway, right. They don't know what in the world is he talking about? They held on to this saying among themselves, puzzling about what it would mean. No concept. We know what he means. Remember, this is not the first time that Mr. Wright has talked about the fact that we the readers of Mark know more than the characters in the story know. This is not the first time we're reading this information. We've got the big picture. The disciples don't. They're seeing it for the first time and hearing it for the first time. They haven't got a clue what's going on. Right, of course. They don't know what we know. It's interesting to think about that every now and then. So what else? Anything else about that section that you've noticed? This is one of the times where the author points out at the bottom of 85, like much that Jesus said, it remained cryptic and puzzling until after the event. When they didn't understand what Jesus said, that doesn't mean they forgot it. They remembered it. And then after the events that are to come, they were able to look back and say, oh, maybe that's what he meant. So anyway, that's an interesting comment. 9:14 to 29. What's this one about? Oh, right. That's a famous line, isn't it? Did you notice the "if you can" comment? He must not have been paying very much attention. Maybe he didn't run into all those other people who saw all those other things. But he's willing to ask. If you can, huh? Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes the Bible is humorous. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Help me in my unbelief. Everything's getting harder. It's not as easy. Nothing seems to be as easy as it was in the earlier part of Mark's gospel. It's getting harder. It's getting more urgent.
First step.
Mm-hmm. 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 He's he's mm-hmm. 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 Uh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So things are getting harder. Did you notice as you read through this whole section today, he's gradually getting closer to Jerusalem? I mean, from Caesarea Philippi, way in the north, he may be skirting around the east side of the lake, but he's still progressing gradually further south, getting closer. Mm-hmm. Notice, I don't know if you were able to notice or not. You might have to look at your schedule to notice. But the section, the week titles that I put on these came from the book. And this section is called Jesus in Conversation, whereas before it was, maybe I'll find the right page here. We started out with Jesus brings good news, and Jesus on the move, and Jesus on a mission. And this time it's Jesus in conversation. Those titles of these major sections of the book are progressing as well. The whole book is kind of breathless. And then when we get to next time, the title is Jesus Gets Serious. I mean, it's moving on pretty fast. So let's see, where are we? We're at 14 to 29, 30 to 37. What's that one about? Oh, that's where they're arguing about, yeah. What were you arguing about on the road? And they didn't say anything. They didn't want to fess up. Jesus knew what they were arguing about. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 So he knew what they were arguing about because they'd been arguing about which one of them was the greatest. So he explained it to them. Who's the greatest? Why do they not understand? Why don't we understand about the idea of servant leadership? I mean, that's what he's talking about, right? Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
My wife knows.
Right, right. Let's see. What about the next section? 38 to 50. What's that one about? Okay, I know I just got to be a way to take these two pages apart. The title he puts on this section is Warnings About Sin. Do you guys see that? I'm not sure I would have called it that. What do you see about this? What's he talking about in here? Well, first of all, he's talking about some of the disciples are wanting exclusivity about what Jesus is doing, and he says, you know, don't go there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whoever is doing these kind of things is not against them.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he's worried about people.
Mm-hmm. Right, right. So that's one thing. Anyone not against us is for us. This is where he begins talking about there's a war on that Mr. Wright talks about. Don't they know there's a war on? And he continues using that phrase throughout this section, which is another way of talking about the urgency is growing. Serious consequences. Let's see, where is it? One of the things that I wrote down is give up that which is leading us on the wrong path. Does that seem to fit with what you see? Oh, yeah, this is some of those verses that we don't like. Did you see them? If your hand causes you to slip up, cut it off. Nobody wants to read that. Nobody wants to read that. But what it's really saying is give up those things that are leading you on the wrong path. Because you don't want to go there. What did you learn about Gehenna? What's Gehenna? What does that mean? What does that word mean? Yeah. It's a section of Jerusalem where they throw away the trash and burn it. A place to get rid of things, in one sense.
Everybody has to
Uh-huh.
try to out the backyard, single barrel,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you got to do something with it, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. The phrase leading us down the wrong path, that's on the top of page 94. Right in the middle of this text section accompanying these verses. What else is in here that you noticed that you wanted to comment on? Anything else? What about the next section? Did you read the beginning? Pharisees approached him with a question. Do you think the Pharisees really wanted to know the answer to that question? Well, yeah. Mm-hmm. They said this to trap him. That's part of the verse. Were they successful at trapping Jesus? Mhm. His strategy for answering was to fold it back on him. What does the scripture say? What did Moses say? Mm-hmm. And of course, they knew, so they had to answer. Mm-hmm. You know, Jesus does that a lot, doesn't he? It's a. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And then the discussion sort of moves. Let's see, where is it? In verse 5, Moses gave you that command because you are hard-hearted. Moses told you how to get out of that because you are hard-hearted. And then he went back to the creation story, quoted from Genesis. I think the author handles this pretty well by acknowledging the fact that there are some marriage situations that are not helpful to continue in. Why does Jesus only give the detailed answer when he's back safely in the house with the disciples? The incident is by the Jordan River in the Judean wilderness. There's a couple of little clues in here that he's actually some of the time on the opposite side of the Jordan River. Okay. Caesarea Philippi down, but he's kind of going to the east rather than back through the territory where he's already been. He's in the region where John the Baptist used to be working, and interesting, he points out that John the Baptist got put in prison because he was criticizing Herodias. And there's a divorce that is not mentioned in there, but it's implied because she used to be married to somebody else, and now okay. So it's a related story. So what are we learning from this? Well, we've got to talk about the hard-heartedness. It's on page 97. It's right toward the end of this section of the text. I'm trying to remember to say that so Kathy can keep up with us. You got it. Okay, good. And suddenly he's talking about children too. Hard-heartedness is the real issue here. This is a helpful sentence right in the beginning of that paragraph. If Jesus is now articulating a rigorous return to the standard of Genesis, he's either being hopelessly idealistic or he believes that the coming of the kingdom will bring about a way for hearts to be softened. The fact that debates about divorce have concerned the church ever since indicates that this cure doesn't work automatically or easily. You know, there's no good answers to these questions. Mm-hmm. Oh, right. Yeah. Somewhere down here, he talks about um, anyone who reads verses 10 to 12 out loud is likely to be called cruel, and so on. Not be met with favor. Cruel, unfeeling, unforgiving. Um, yeah, yeah. So the section of the scripture ends with Jesus talking about children. But I think there's a reason why Mark put these together. Have you noticed that what we're reading through now feels like a set of small incidents that are tacked together for some reason? It's not like a huge story anymore. It's like little pieces that are put together. He's relating the question of divorce with a story about accepting children. And the author here thinks that there's a reason for that. Divorce is hard on children. And Jesus is trying to make sure that people think about the fact that children do matter. And it's important to think about them as well. I don't know. What do you think? Did you read that? Did you see that? Huh.
Yeah, that's the adultery part.
Uh-huh.
So,
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. What else? Other things you saw, learned from looking at this section? Let's move on to chapter 10, verses 17 to 31.
I'm sorry for him. I
Yeah, yeah.
he wants to do the right thing. I think he really does. Because he wants to get rid of all of his possessions.
Mm-hmm.
It's so relatable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like a previous section, getting rid of the stuff that gets in your way. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 By the way, have you guys heard, not lately because the political season seems to have taken over, but there's at least one promotion of the places where you can go gamble your money away that uses the phrase, for the love of money. Does that make you either laugh or cry when you see that? Yeah, I mean, it's like, do they know what they're saying? They're quoting a piece of the Bible without any clue what it's about. And it's like, whoa. And that's applicable here. Next time. I expect the people who wrote that have no idea. I don't know. I don't know. It can't be on purpose, or they would have looked at the rest of that quote and not used it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Either that or their ignorance of it. I don't know. There's two places. Look at Wright's translation of this, and I'm interested to know what your translation says. In verse 21, Jesus looked hard at him and loved him. You see that? Okay. 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 Mm-hmm. But he used it again. This is where we get the verse about it's harder to enter the kingdom of God for a rich man than it is for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. That verse is in here as well. And when someone asks him, or when someone says, then who can be saved? And Jesus says in verse 27, it's impossible for mortals, Jesus said, looking hard at them again. He used that phrase again. What does your translation say? Looked at them. It's 27. Mm-hmm. Is there a phrase in between those two pieces of what he said? Yeah. Okay. I just thought it was interesting that he used Mr. Wright, when he was translating this, used that same phrase, looking hard at them. Okay. Okay. Okay.
And the disciples were amazed at his words. Children, how hard it is to enter the kingdom of God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Keep going.
It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of the needle than for a rich man.
Uh-huh.
And they were speaking with his tongue.
Mm-hmm.
You can be saved.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, with you it is possible with God. For all things are possible with God.
Okay. So at that part, it just says he looked at them again. Yeah, there must be something in the Greek that he's seeing, that he's using twice, this phrase, looking hard at them, looking intently at them. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I just noticed. Oh, right. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Mm-hmm. Other thoughts? Well, he's getting ready to talk about God, so maybe that's people who are hmm uh, maybe it's a way to try to be uh, generic with regard to gender. Yeah, maybe. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. NIV says man. The NIV comment says every attempt to enter the kingdom on the basis of achievement or merit is futile. Apart from the grace of God, no one can be saved. That's what it says about that verse. So, yeah. Other observations, thoughts. Talk about what's going on with this. Notice the last. I'm looking at verse 21. The last thing he says to the young man, come after you've gotten rid of all of your possessions and given it to the poor, then come and follow me. I think that's Jesus' bottom line. He wants people to follow him. Come with him, follow him. Do what he says. That's a big challenge, isn't it? It doesn't say. In Mark, it only calls him, um, a man ran up and knelt down in front of him. And the title of the section is Rich Young Ruler, but all we know about him from Mark's telling of the story is that he's rich. And what it, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mr. Wright says on page 99 in the middle, all we know from Mark is that he was rich. Matthew is the one who tells us he was young, and Luke tells us that he was a ruler. So that's where the phrase, the rich young ruler, comes from. Mark didn't say all of that, but putting it together, that name sticks to this story as a composite of what the various gospel writers labeled him with. So, anyway.
The disciples stopped and being told that wealth won't buy good faith. The surprise, only
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The more you have, the harder. The disciples were doing
Uh-huh. So I think that's an interesting comment that um, I'm seeing another sentence that I underlined toward the bottom of page 100. Riches can no more go into the age to come than a camel can go through a needle. You'll get your riches into God's kingdom when you can put the entire ocean into a bottle, is another quote that some people say. What's the phrase? You can't take it with you.
for the little purpose. I remember that popped in my brain. I have a lot of songs pop in my
Yeah. So anyway, all right. Let's move on to the next section, chapter 10, 32 to 45. What's this about? Oh,
office what we started with.
yeah. So what are they doing here? James and John. Are you surprised it wasn't Peter? Maybe because they're a brother pair. This is what it's like. Okay, hey Jesus, we got an idea. Yeah, and yeah, yeah. This is what David was talking about at the beginning.
More to grant us whatever we ask.
that
That's what we said. Whatever we ask.
that's a leading line, isn't it?
That probably you're asking something more than
Mm-hmm.
we're all kind of all up. Those who are in charge of us.
Mm-hmm.
Requires
Mm-hmm.
over others.
Mm-hmm. Grant us that when you are there in all your glory, one of us will sit at your right and the other at your left. Jesus knows what an unintelligent question that is. You don't know what you're asking for. And then he says, actually, you will. But sitting at my right or my left, that's not up to me. Yeah. And then he goes back to this servant idea. Anyone who wants to be great must become your servant. The Son of Man didn't come to be waited on, he came to be the servant. What do we get from this? Notice that the text, I keep pushing down on this and it keeps going down. Imagine that. If I wouldn't push down on it, it wouldn't keep dropping. So this is another time in among this discussion, this is another time when Jesus is predicting. There are at least 3 times, maybe more, through this whole section today that Jesus tells them what's going to happen. They don't understand, they don't get it, but then they haven't read the end of the story like we have. Well, they can't comprehend it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that's why he's doing it in this section more successfully. Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Um, did you notice in here that let's see, where does it talk about that? It's on page 102 is where it begins, about a third of the way down. Mark's aiming to tell us the story of Jesus' crucifixion. He hasn't gotten there yet, but the author says he's planting seeds in this story, seeds that are going to get developed later on, hints, if you will. He calls them seeds, and then he talks about, using the word servant, and his determined progress toward Jerusalem is one of the ones. I tried to mark them as they went by. Every now and then he says, this is the 3rd seed, or this is the 4th seed. And sometimes you can figure out what he's talking about. Sometimes you can't. Um, 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 but he's talking about the fact that Mark intentionally, as he's telling this part of the story, puts clues in there as to what's going to happen. Things about being a servant. Things about, are you sure you want to you want to be in this with me, and so on. The final seed is his comment about who's sitting at the right and the left. Underlying theme throughout these chapters is that of following Jesus. They are going to follow Jesus. But see you later, Nedra. If you want to be first, serve. Other comments about this one that you noticed? In the other section, at the end of chapter 10, what's that one about? Notice they've gotten to Jericho. That's way further south than Caesarea Philippi. And it's still kind of on the edge of the country. So this is the one about the blind man begging to see. That's a good question. There was some comfort and security in what he was doing, right? You really want to change? That's a good question. Do you want to be healed? Mm-hmm. What do you want me to do for you? And so he did. Um, Jesus recognized the man at this isn't Zacchaeus. This is a different person. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. You know, that's what his name means. So for some reason, Mark is translating what his name means. Somebody was Bar Jonah, that means the son of Jonah, or Bar Timaeus. He's, for some reason, he's choosing in this spot to translate what his name means, the son of. Yeah, interesting, because we haven't encountered that too much, maybe not anywhere. No, I don't remember anywhere in Mark where he's done something like that, but he does here. Maybe just to, maybe just so we know what that means when we read that. What do you want me to do for you? Faith consists not least in recognizing who Jesus is and trusting that he has the power to rescue. Not only did Bartimaeus realize that that was Jesus, but trusting that he could heal him. And he did. Do you want to be healed? Comments? What did you see in this section? Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. 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 That's it. That's a possibility. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mm, not usually. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Other comments, questions? You're taking the week off next week. It's spring break. I don't know if you're going somewhere. I'm not, but but some people will be. So, you are. Well, good. Would somebody like to close us with a word of prayer this morning?